Today, I'll be responding to a video titled, All Men Should Be MGTOW. The description also reads, Reasons for every man to join MGTOW. So, apparently there are unbiased reasons for being MGTOW now. Oh, this is certainly going to be interesting. Continue watching this video, folks, if you are interested in hearing an anti-MGTOW's perspective on MGTOW content, and I hope from viewing my perspective, many in my audience will learn the importance of fact-checking the nonsense, many MGTOW videos, that you watch on the internet. Good morrow, ladies and gents. It is I, the Crimson Crusader, your friendly neighborhood anti-MGTOW who has the most hated anti-MGTOW channel on YouTube. Now is the time for me to analyze and respond to some more MGTOW arguments. Now, I haven't posted in a while, but I am back up to schedule. So, in today's video, I will be debunking a short MGTOW video created by the YouTuber Zeitgeist Eater. I don't even know how to pronounce that, and honestly, that sounds like some sort of name for a cannibalistic alien or whatever. But don't worry, folks, I won't be making too many petty comments in this video. To keep my videos as short as possible, I will be responding to clips of, I'm just going to call them Eaters, or I'm just going to say his original video. So anyways, throughout this video, I'm basically going to be responding and making fun of his arguments, and I wish no harm or hate upon this YouTuber. But I also want to make sure that I include that if I unintentionally misinterpret or understand what you're saying, feel free to clarify that. Now, however, if you do say stupid shit, expect a strong response from me. And that'll be directed towards your arguments, obviously. Now, with that out of the way, let's hear his reasons for why all men should be MGTOW. Now, trust me, this is going to be very interesting.
There were a few angles to society, such as a woman's animosity toward men that I hadn't worked out yet, but in my case their animosity had already been made irrelevant.
Whoa, we're already off to a great start. So, apparently, women hate men now, and that is a reason why men should be MGTOW? Do you have any reliable evidence? I'm sorry, but do you have any reliable evidence to back this up? Nope, of course you don't. Now, why should any sane man believe this when you don't even bother to provide evidence, or at least one example? How do I know what you're saying is even true? And in reality, yes, while there is some women who probably hate men out there, they are most likely a small minority. It is ironic how you call out women for being hateful towards men, yet you fail to see the hate in your own MGTOW movement. If there's any group that has more hate and bitterness towards another gender, it seems to be in the MGTOW community. This is obvious, as it is so easy for me to find hate comments towards women in almost every MGTOW video. It's absurd how some people in the MGTOW community try to argue MGTOW love women, especially when I see videos that say all women are whores, and there's a lot of other, and there's like likes on that video. You know, yeah, MGTOW is definitely not a toxic community. My question for other MGTOW out there is, how can a MGTOW give 1,000 examples that prove that women are fill in the blank, and I can give 1,000 examples of toxic MGTOW comics and toxic MGTOW videos, and that somehow does not prove that a significant portion, if not a majority of MGTOW, hate women? The hypocrisy is real here, folks. And after this, you said that a woman's animosity is irrelevant. So how is something irrelevant a relevant reason to be MGTOW? I mean, you better explain this fast.
I moved into making stacks of money with my...
And you don't even bother to explain what I said earlier. How is this video going to convince any rational man to become a MGTOW when so far your only reason for being MGTOW is something that you yourself call irrelevant?
Personal resolution being pretty simple. I didn't need a woman's help to build my infrastructure, I didn't need their help to bring in my revenue, and I certainly didn't need one to grade my self-worth for me.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you're bragging about your fat stacks are really helping your argument right now. And then you go on to basically say that you are not dependent on a woman for anything. What an accomplishment! Congratulations! You are like pretty much every other normal guy in the United States. From a traditional standpoint, in Western society, women were actually respected to rely on their husbands for everything. So I don't know why you're saying this. It's irrelevant because men have never relied on women. If you look at the entire history of Western society and culture. So I don't know why this is included. The only people who have this problem are people who have financial problems, health problems, or they are just irresponsible. And I don't see how the MGTOW philosophy can help solve those problems. It just seems you're going off topic right now.
If I were to even hazard a non-marital relationship, because marriages are for schmucks, it'd be what I want, when I want, and without regard for her opinion. If any woman has a problem with that, she can leave. I may even go as far as to require a signed document for any kind of relationship exceeding 1 week.
Wait. Why do you need a document that a woman must sign after a week? Please, explain that. And I find ironic how women are called control freaks by some MGTOW, yet you want a relationship where you can do whatever you want. You want full control. Not only is that selfish, but you seem to have a very apathetic attitude towards women, which shows that you not only seem to have an attitude that doesn't care about women, but you also act irresponsibly because you don't want to consider the responsibilities and effort you have to put in to have a successful relationship. And this here again proves my point that I've been trying to say in earlier videos, how MGTOW seems to be a group that despises responsibility, or at least they want to get rid of responsibility.
A great example is a fellow I know that showed an interest in learning about international finance right up until the point where his wife told him he couldn't. When I pressed him on the point that he was being censored, the response I received was, "She said she will divorce me if I do." And honestly, for me, that would defeat the whole point of trying to move up in the world. End quote. This type of behavior only strengthened my resolve to keep women out of my sphere of influence. I already had a past relationship on the books where a woman gave me an ultimatum between staying on course with my business partner or choosing to remain in a relationship with her. I chose the business partner.
After this, you say women can holler domestic violence at any time, and that this can hurt your chances of switching countries as globalization continues. Then you go on saying that if you have a criminal record, you have to explain to the other country that you want to apply to why you have this criminal record or this crime on your record, because they want high caliber people. Well, no Sherlock. What kind of country would not do a background check to keep its people safe? Sweden. But seriously though, now I understand how evil it is to have someone falsely charge you for something you didn't do, such as domestic violence. However, you need to realize that there usually is accountability for false accusations. However, if someone does get away with wrongly accusing a man without evidence, usually cases will be dropped because of a lack of evidence to charge the person. And typically when false charges are dropped, the person's basically they are expunged from your record, so you shouldn't have a problem moving from country to country if you so desire. Furthermore, people are only jailed for domestic violence if there is probable cause, such as a woman with severe wounds or marks. Now, women are not the problem in domestic violence cases. The problem is evil people who are taking advantage of it to cause chaos, not a gender. Now, also, what the do you mean by globalization makes it hard to move from country to country? Dear sir, globalization makes it easier to travel. Just take a look at the freaking EU. EU is literally the prime example of direction towards globalization. There are no borders between the member states of the EU, which makes it so easy to travel. Now, if we look at Brexit, which is a prime example of anti-globalization, they are now going to be enforcing border checks, which is going to make travel more difficult. I'm sorry, but it looks like you have no idea what you are talking about. Overall, your reasons are either myths or a misunderstanding of the effects of certain things like globalization, and you also provide no evidence to prove any of these things. Okay, then after this, you talk about how you've only been MGTOW for 10 days, but you've lived the MGTOW lifestyle for 5 years. Why should I listen to your reasons for men to join MGTOW if you've only been a MGTOW for 10 days? Clearly, you are not an expert on MGTOW. Alright, so then after this, he goes on stating how because of this thing with his friend, he had enough with women's games and their overbrinksmanship. The overbrinksmanship of women. You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. If anything represents overbrinksmanship, it's your desire for full control. The shaming language and hypocrisy continues. Okay, enough of these sob stories. First, how do these two very different situations prove that women are bad and relate to why men should join MGTOW? Also, were you implying that all women play mind games and mistreat men based on your vague descriptions of personal experiences and the personal experiences of people you know or whatever? How do I know you're not making this shit up to get back at women? Because from your attitude, it seems like you are trying to do that. Also, your friend's story is not good enough evidence because, again, you give us a vague description because we don't know the history, emotions, and the woman's side of the story. Also, personal experiences in general are not enough evidence to prove your claims because they are rather biased instead of objective. This is because experience is based on a limited perception of a situation, meaning you are not omniscient and you don't know all the other details, or such as the wife's perspective of your friend. Furthermore, attitudes affect perceptions, which is why especially negative experiences can be biased. If you have a negative attitude towards all women, you are likely to misinterpret and perceive their actions as manipulative, leading you to treat evil people or women poorly, which then causes the women to treat you poorly for treating her poorly. This creates a negative experience, which reinforces an already biased attitude. This is weak and color evidence that unfairly demonizes those women, because you don't even bother to share their side of the story. So after this, you say you thought you were in a sea of idiot men and all the guys you were around kowtowed to women. So how does your personal experience help prove why men should be MGTOW, or why they should join MGTOW? From your description, it seems that you just hang around with people who fail to assert themselves, which doesn't seem to prove anything. Also, I want to point out how his use of the Winston Churchill quote, "Good, you have enemies. That means you stood up for something, sometime in your life," is being misinterpreted. This quote was used for political context, not for interpersonal relationships, which is the topic you are addressing. In my opinion, Churchill would be the last person you should get quotes from, because his whole mindset is very anti-MGTOW. This is because Churchill was the most traditional man at his time, in Britain. He had a family and he supported marriage, which goes against the anti-traditionalist themes of MGTOW, which is the belief that marriage is oppressive to men because it's gynocentric, which is why this is all so ironic. Also, it's funny how you called married men schmucks earlier. If married men are schmucks, why are you taking quotes from married schmucks like Churchill then? Okay, I'm going to be skipping a little bit of the part where he talks about how MGTOW philosophy has helped influence him.
Also, nod to Christy O'Misty and Girl Writes What. Between the two of them, it solved the nice guy versus bad boy paradox, as well as helped to reveal the social bubbles that are caused when you expand people's rights without expanding their obligations.
What the heck is a Mr. What the f*** call it? What do you mean by nice guy and bad boy paradox? How is a social bubble created when you expand people's rights? How are these good reasons for joining MGTOW? How will these men who are you trying to communicate to understand what you're saying if you don't explain shit to them? Just because you know something doesn't mean everyone else does. Again, this shows how apathetic your attitude appears to be, especially when you don't consider the knowledge of the audience you're trying to reach. After this, you then talk about practically applying MGTOW because MGTOW philosophy has already been nailed down. Anti-MGTOW begs to differ. MGTOW lacks the evidence to prove what they claim, and your video demonstrates that as you appear to have no evidence to prove any of the stuff you're saying. There are many other reasons to reject the MGTOW insanity, but an important one is MGTOW cannot prove conspiracy theories like gynocentrism. The idea that society puts women at the center. The idea that the society puts women at the center of society. That's gynocentrism. Even the feminist version of patriarchy sounds more convincing than that theory. At least the feminists can use history to show that patriarchy at least existed in some point of history to make a weak argument. However, so far I can't find a historical piece of evidence that shows a society or culture that was gynocentric. After this, Eater goes off topic and talks about his goal for his channel of helping men leave the long arm of society. Then he states that people should use decentralization technology instead of relying on judges to protect one's rights. And then he lists all the things he is going to contribute, and he also includes this.
I'm also in good physical condition with a six-pack and a suit.
Wow, showing off again. I thought this was a video giving reasons for men to be MGTOW. Alright, but seriously though, how does having a men disappear or leave society a good thing? Isolating yourself from society can actually cause poor health. How is this accomplishing the MGTOW mission of helping men? Anyways, I will leave a link to an article that talks more about this in the description of this video. If you're interested, you can go check that out. Then you go on saying that rights and assets should be protected, that someone's rights and assets should be protected by decentralization technology and not by judges, which makes you sound very paranoid. I'm sorry, but I don't think people can have a lot of privacy anymore, especially since the government is already watching you and there will always be new technology invented that will bypass your securities. In a nutshell, you want men to hide from society to protect their rights. Let me ask you this. If men are isolated from society, how will there be any accountability if someone does compromise your security? Also, I think it is better to try to make changes in society rather than running from things and offering no solution. Leaving society removes your influence, and that gives other groups more power in the government, and they can use that power to take your rights away, if you believe that is what's happening to men. So, MGTOW is basically self-defeating.
I leave you with this.
You have to give up. You have to give up. You have to realize that someday you will die. Until you know that, you are useless.
Oh, we are gonna die? You don't freaking say! Oh, what an inspiring final message. Wow. What a depressing way to end a video. Honestly, giving up is your last reason for being MGTOW. Really. Once again, it's ironic how your message contradicts Churchill, the author of your previous quote, his most famous quote is never, 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 3 nevers, give up. Churchill would be ashamed and embarrassed watching this video, especially when you misused his quote. I can't believe this is the end though. Is this a video about reasons to be MGTOW, or your sob story with you bragging about a six-pack, your fat stacks, and all these things you know how to do? I was expecting you to at least list some of the basic arguments, such as talking about gynocentrism as a reason to be MGTOW. I'm really surprised that there was not a lot of reasons in this video. And the amount of times you just went off topic. How hard is it to list reasons for being MGTOW? They don't even have to be real good reasons. Just stay on topic. Now, while this is your first video, and this was made quite a while ago, I'm sorry, there's just no excuse for not doing your research about Churchill, and also staying on topic in this video. My main gripe is your failure to explain things or lay down evidence, which does not help connect with your audience. If you won't explain stuff, at least provide links that would send your viewers to videos that would help them understand what you are saying. Now, that's pretty much it, everyone. Tell me what you thought about the use of Churchill's quote in his argument. Was I too critical of him in this video? Let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't respond to your comments, I always make sure to read them. If you disagree with this video, give it a dislike and tell me why. And those who are interested in seeing more Anti-MGTOW videos should support this channel by subscribing and clicking that notification bell. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but I now have a Twitter account. So you can follow me at Crimson Crusader. Yes, the Crusader is spelled with an O. I could not, for some reason, Twitter wouldn't allow me to spell it Crusader as it normally is, so I just put an O there. And that's pretty much all I have for you folks. Until next time, my fair ladies and honorable gents, fare thee well.